You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your educational journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Change management in the context of artificial intelligence refers to the structured coordination of people, processes, and technology to ensure smooth adoption of new systems. Unlike technical upgrades that remain invisible to end users, AI initiatives directly affect how employees work, how customers are served, and how decisions are made. These impacts require organizations to go beyond deployment into enablement, ensuring that individuals and teams are supported throughout the transition. Change management builds alignment between technical capacity and organizational readiness, recognizing that even the best-designed AI system will fail if employees resist it or do not know how to use it effectively. It requires structured planning, careful communication, and active participation from leadership to reduce disruption and maximize the benefits of adoption. By placing equal weight on human and technical factors, change management ensures that innovation translates into value, rather than confusion. The importance of change management cannot be overstated, as history shows that many AI and digital transformation initiatives falter not because of technical limitations, but because organizations underestimate the human element. Employees accustomed to established workflows may feel threatened by automation, fearing job loss or skill obsolescence. Leaders may fail to align AI projects with strategic priorities, treating them as experiments rather than investments. Regulators or customers may raise concerns about safety, fairness, or transparency, creating external resistance. Without a robust change management framework, these challenges can derail adoption even if the system itself is technically sound. Change management acknowledges these realities and builds structured processes for overcoming them, ensuring that AI initiatives succeed not just in laboratories, but in the real-world environments where they matter. Phased rollouts represent one of the most effective approaches to managing change, as they reduce risk by deploying systems gradually rather than all at once. In a phased rollout, AI tools are introduced in small, manageable stages, beginning with limited teams or functions before expanding to the broader enterprise. This approach allows organizations to test performance, identify issues, and adapt strategies without exposing the entire organization to disruption. For example, a bank might deploy a fraud detection AI to one regional branch before extending it to national operations. Phased rollouts create opportunities for learning, allowing feedback to shape the system as it grows. They also build confidence among stakeholders, as each successful phase demonstrates that adoption can proceed safely and effectively. Pilot programs are the first stage of most phased rollouts, functioning as controlled experiments that test AI systems in real-world but limited environments. A pilot may involve a small department, a single business process, or a defined set of users, allowing organizations to measure performance and identify challenges before scaling. Pilots reduce risk by ensuring that problems are discovered early and addressed in contained settings. They also generate success stories that help persuade skeptics of AI's value. For instance, a healthcare provider might pilot an AI triage tool in one hospital wing, demonstrating reduced wait times before expanding to other facilities. Pilots embody the principle of start small, learn fast, providing evidence that informs larger adoption strategies. Stakeholder engagement is another critical element of change management, as adoption depends on the support of diverse groups both inside and outside the organization. Leaders, employees, regulators, customers, and even external partners all have stakes in how AI is deployed. Each group must be included in planning, consulted on potential risks, and informed of expected benefits. Stakeholders bring valuable perspectives. Employees can identify workflow challenges, regulators can highlight compliance risks, and customers can signal how AI affects trust. Engagement must be proactive and ongoing, building a coalition of support that sustains adoption through challenges. Ignoring stakeholders is one of the fastest ways to breed resistance, as people left out of the process often feel alienated or opposed. Communication strategies form the backbone of stakeholder engagement, as clear and consistent messaging builds trust and reduces resistance. Change often sparks uncertainty, and without effective communication, uncertainty turns into anxiety or opposition. Organizations must articulate not only what is changing but also why it matters, how it will affect users, and what support is available. Communication should be transparent, addressing both benefits and risks honestly, rather than glossing over concerns. Channels should be varied: emails, town halls, FAQs, and training materials, ensuring that messages reach all audiences effectively. A strong communication strategy transforms adoption from a top-down mandate into a shared journey, fostering openness and collaboration. User training programs provide the practical skills employees need to use AI safely and effectively. Training goes beyond technical tutorials, embedding lessons about compliance, fairness, and responsible use. Structured programs may include workshops, online modules, and hands-on practice, tailored to the specific roles and tasks of different employees. For instance, compliance staff may receive training on monitoring AI decisions for bias, while customer service agents may learn how to collaborate with AI chatbots. Training reduces fear by replacing uncertainty with competence, empowering employees to see AI as a tool rather than a threat. It also ensures consistency, as users learn standardized practices that align with governance policies. Without structured training, adoption often falters, as employees misuse or avoid tools they do not understand. Adoption playbooks are the institutional memory of change management, capturing repeatable steps for consistent rollout. A playbook documents processes such as how to conduct pilots, how to engage stakeholders, how to measure success, and how to train users. Playbooks reduce reliance on ad hoc decision-making, ensuring that adoption efforts are disciplined and scalable. They also make adoption transferable, allowing lessons learned in one department to be applied in another. For example, a playbook might describe how a marketing team successfully rolled out AI-driven personalization, creating a model for finance or HR to follow. Playbooks transform change management from a reactive effort into a structured discipline, ensuring consistency across complex organizations. Metrics for adoption success ensure that change management is measured, not assumed. Key indicators include user engagement, satisfaction, productivity gains, and compliance outcomes. Adoption metrics might track the percentage of employees using a tool regularly, reductions in manual errors, or improvements in customer satisfaction scores. These metrics provide evidence that adoption is working and identify areas where additional support is needed. For example, if engagement is high but satisfaction is low, training or communication strategies may need revision. Metrics also connect adoption to ROI storytelling, demonstrating that investments in change management translate into tangible benefits. By grounding adoption in measurable outcomes, organizations ensure accountability and continuous improvement. Governance plays a crucial role in ensuring that change management aligns with compliance, risk, and ethical standards. Governance frameworks define rules for how AI must be adopted, ensuring that rollouts do not compromise privacy, safety, or fairness. For example, a governance board may require review of AI pilots before they expand, verifying that they comply with regulatory requirements. Governance also establishes accountability, assigning responsibility for monitoring adoption and resolving issues. Without governance, change management risks moving too quickly, prioritizing speed over compliance. Embedding governance ensures that adoption is not only effective but also responsible, protecting organizations from legal, ethical, and reputational risks. Resistance to change is one of the most common barriers to AI adoption, often rooted in cultural or organizational dynamics. Employees may fear job displacement, distrust new technology, or feel excluded from decision-making. Resistance can also stem from change fatigue, where employees already overwhelmed by other transformations resist new initiatives. Addressing resistance requires empathy, transparency, and inclusion. Leaders must acknowledge concerns, provide reassurance, and involve employees in shaping how AI is used. Resistance is not inherently negative. It can highlight genuine risks or overlooked issues. Managed constructively, resistance becomes a feedback mechanism that strengthens adoption strategies. Incentives and motivation help turn resistance into support by highlighting personal and organizational benefits. Incentives can include recognition, career development opportunities, or even financial rewards for successful adoption. Motivation can also stem from demonstrating how AI makes employees' jobs easier, safer, or more impactful. For instance, showing customer service agents how AI reduces repetitive tasks frees them to focus on meaningful interactions. By connecting adoption to personal value, organizations encourage employees to embrace rather than resist change. Incentives must be carefully designed to avoid creating pressure or resentment, focusing instead on aligning organizational goals with individual benefits. Leadership support is perhaps the single most important factor in successful change management. Executive sponsorship signals that AI adoption is not an isolated project but a strategic priority. Leaders provide resources, set expectations, and model behaviors, demonstrating commitment to adoption. Their visible engagement reassures employees that adoption will be supported consistently, not abandoned when challenges arise. Leaders also serve as advocates with external stakeholders, ensuring that adoption is aligned with regulatory and societal expectations. Without leadership support, even the best-designed change management frameworks can struggle, as employees quickly recognize when priorities lack executive backing. Strong sponsorship turns adoption from an experiment into an enterprise-wide commitment. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Scaling adoption is the natural next step after successful pilot programs, as organizations move from small, contained environments into enterprise-wide deployments. Scaling requires more than simply increasing the number of users. It demands careful planning to ensure consistency, reliability, and compliance across diverse teams and geographies. For example, a chatbot tested in one department may need retraining or fine-tuning to support new languages, customer bases, or regulatory requirements in other regions. Scaling also requires expanded infrastructure, stronger governance, and broader training programs. Without structured scaling, pilots that succeed locally can stumble when applied more widely, undermining confidence in AI initiatives. By approaching scaling as a managed process rather than an automatic expansion, organizations preserve the momentum of early successes and translate them into sustainable enterprise adoption. Knowledge transfer is another vital element of enablement, ensuring that expertise gained during pilots spreads across the wider organization. Without intentional transfer, adoption risks becoming siloed, with only a handful of teams understanding how to use or govern AI systems effectively. Knowledge transfer involves formal training, mentoring, documentation, and community building, creating structures that embed learning into the organization. For example, employees who participated in a pilot can serve as champions, training their peers and answering questions. This approach prevents bottlenecks, reduces reliance on a small group of experts, and accelerates adoption across departments. Knowledge transfer reflects the principle that AI adoption is not only about technology, but about embedding new skills and mindsets broadly. Centers of Excellence, COEs, are a common structure for guiding AI adoption at scale. A COE is a dedicated group that consolidates expertise, best practices, and governance oversight, serving as both a hub for innovation and a resource for the wider organization. COEs ensure consistency by developing playbooks, monitoring compliance, and advising on technical and ethical challenges. They also foster innovation by experimenting with new tools and methods before rolling them out to the enterprise. For example, a financial institution might establish an AI COE to test compliance monitoring tools, ensuring that models align with regulatory standards before wider deployment. By concentrating expertise, COEs accelerate adoption while providing reassurance that AI is being managed responsibly and strategically. Continuous training is essential because AI systems and best practices evolve rapidly. A one-time training program may prepare employees for launch, but it will not equip them to handle updates, new regulations, or evolving features. Continuous training can take the form of refresher courses, e-learning modules, or interactive simulations that keep skills current. It also allows organizations to respond to feedback, updating training materials as adoption challenges emerge. For instance, if users report confusion about AI explanations, training can be adjusted to clarify interpretability. Continuous education reflects the reality that AI adoption is not a single event but an ongoing journey, requiring sustained investment in human capacity as much as technical infrastructure. Feedback loops provide the mechanism for learning and improvement during adoption. Users must be able to share their experiences, frustrations, and suggestions, and organizations must act on this input. Feedback loops can be formal, such as surveys and help desk tickets, or informal, such as workshops and open forums. Collecting feedback ensures that adoption is user-centered, not just technology-driven. It also reveals risks early, as users are often the first to notice when systems produce errors or biases. For example, customer service staff may notice that an AI tool misinterprets common queries, prompting retraining or adjustment. Feedback loops close the gap between developers and users, making adoption a collaborative process rather than a top-down mandate. Documentation plays a crucial role in scaling adoption, as it reduces reliance on experts and ensures consistency across diverse teams. Documentation can include playbooks, FAQs, workflows, and troubleshooting guides, providing employees with accessible resources for everyday use. Well-designed documentation empowers users to solve problems independently, reducing bottlenecks and frustration. It also standardizes practices, ensuring that AI systems are used consistently across the enterprise. For example, documentation for a document review I might explain how to interpret results, flag errors, and escalate issues. Documentation is not static, but should evolve as systems and user needs change. By institutionalizing knowledge, documentation creates resilience, ensuring that adoption can scale without overwhelming expert resources. Change fatigue represents a hidden but serious barrier to adoption, as employees overwhelmed by constant new initiatives may resist or disengage. AI adoption often comes alongside other digital transformation projects, compounding stress. Change fatigue reduces enthusiasm, increases turnover, and undermines productivity. Addressing it requires pacing adoption thoughtfully, aligning rollouts with organizational capacity, and providing adequate support. Leaders must communicate clearly, avoid overloading employees, and celebrate progress to maintain morale. Recognizing the limits of organizational bandwidth is as important as designing technical systems. Change fatigue is not a sign of failure, but a reminder that adoption must be managed with empathy as well as ambition. Integration with existing workflows is critical to adoption success, as AI systems that feel disconnected or disruptive are likely to be resisted. Instead of forcing employees to abandon familiar tools, AI should be embedded naturally into processes they already use. For example, an AI writing assistant might be integrated into Office software rather than requiring employees to log into a separate platform. Integration reduces friction, making adoption seamless rather than burdensome. It also increases trust, as employees see AI as an enabler rather than an obstacle. By designing for integration, organizations respect employee routines while enhancing them, creating smoother and more sustainable adoption. Risk management must be part of rollout strategies, as adoption introduces potential disruptions alongside benefits. Risks include technical failures, compliance violations, or negative user experiences that erode trust. Risk management involves identifying these potential issues in advance, developing mitigation strategies, and monitoring outcomes during rollout. For instance, a phased deployment may include contingency plans for rolling back changes if unexpected problems arise. Governance oversight ensures that risks are not ignored but systematically addressed. By embedding risk management into adoption plans, organizations avoid crises that could derail broader initiatives and instead treat challenges as manageable parts of the journey. Cross-functional collaboration is essential because AI adoption touches every part of the organization, from IT and compliance to HR and operations. Without collaboration, silos emerge and adoption falters. For example, IT may focus on performance, compliance may focus on regulation, and HR may focus on employee training. Only by coordinating these perspectives can adoption succeed. Cross-functional teams ensure that AI is evaluated holistically, addressing technical, regulatory, and cultural dimensions simultaneously. Collaboration also builds shared ownership, reducing resistance by involving stakeholders from multiple disciplines. It reflects the reality that AI is not just a technical system but a socio-technical one, requiring diverse expertise to succeed. Success stories play an important role in adoption, providing tangible evidence that change is worthwhile. Highlighting teams or departments that have benefited from AI creates momentum, motivating others to follow. Success stories should focus not only on organizational gains, but also on individual benefits, showing how employees' jobs have become easier or more impactful. For example, a case study might describe how I reduced routine paperwork for a legal team, freeing them to focus on strategy. By celebrating successes, organizations counter resistance, build confidence, and humanize the adoption process. Success stories transform adoption from abstract strategy into lived experience. Failure cases provide equally valuable lessons, showing what happens when change management is neglected. Projects that skip pilots, ignore stakeholder input, or fail to provide training often collapse, wasting resources and damaging trust. For instance, a retail organization that deployed AI pricing tools without staff training faced resistance and errors that undermined adoption. Studying such failures helps organizations avoid repeating mistakes, reinforcing the need for structured change management. Failures should not be hidden but examined honestly, building a culture of learning. By acknowledging what went wrong, organizations strengthen their ability to get it right the next time. Ethical considerations must be built into adoption training, ensuring that users understand not only how to use AI tools, but how to use them responsibly. Employees should be taught about bias, fairness, privacy, and compliance, learning to recognize when AI outputs may pose risks. Training should emphasize that AI is a tool to augment judgment, not replace it, reinforcing accountability. Ethical training builds trust both internally and externally, showing that adoption is guided by values as well as efficiency. Without ethics, adoption risks eroding trust, as employees or customers perceive AI as careless or exploitative. Embedding ethics ensures that adoption supports fairness, transparency, and respect for users and stakeholders alike. Cultural shifts often accompany AI adoption as organizations move from traditional workflows to more data-driven, collaborative, and adaptive practices. Adoption requires not only new skills but also new mindsets, such as comfort with experimentation, openness to feedback, and willingness to work alongside AI systems. Leaders must model these cultural shifts, demonstrating curiosity, humility, and adaptability. Culture cannot be changed overnight, but intentional leadership, communication, and training create conditions for gradual transformation. When culture aligns with adoption, resistance diminishes, and AI becomes a natural part of how the organization works. Cultural adaptation ensures that adoption is not superficial, but deeply embedded into organizational identity. The future outlook for enablement is that it will evolve into ongoing programs for AI literacy and governance rather than one-time adoption efforts. As AI becomes more pervasive, every employee will require a baseline understanding of how it works, what risks it carries, and how to use it responsibly. Governance will expand to include training requirements, ethical standards, and continuous feedback loops. Enablement will shift from reactive adoption support to proactive culture building, creating organizations that are not only ready for change but thrive on it. This future reflects the reality that AI adoption is not a project with an endpoint but a continuous process of adaptation and learning. As adoption strategies mature, they naturally transition into broader pattern libraries, where lessons learned are documented, shared, and reused across organizations. These libraries capture what worked, what failed, and why, creating resources that accelerate future adoption efforts. They ensure that organizations build on their own experiences rather than reinventing the wheel each time. Pattern libraries also support industry-wide collaboration, as best practices spread across enterprises and sectors. By linking adoption to pattern building, organizations create a cycle of continuous improvement, embedding change management into their long-term DNA. Change management and enablement, then, are the twin disciplines that ensure AI adoption succeeds. They go beyond technical deployment to address human, cultural, and organizational dimensions, embedding practices such as phased rollouts, pilots, stakeholder engagement, training, playbooks, and governance oversight. They manage risks, counter resistance, and build trust, ensuring that AI systems are not only adopted, but embraced. By treating adoption as a structured process rather than a hopeful outcome, organizations create the conditions for sustainable transformation. Change management and enablement are therefore not optional extras but essential enablers, turning AI from experimental potential into operational reality. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.